From creepy abandoned submarines to space rock that fell through a coffin maker's roof, and even mysterious underwater artifacts, here are 10 of the most surprising discoveries. Number 10. Dwarf Submarines. Hidden at a dry dock in Japan at the Kure Naval Base, there's a collection of decommissioned dwarf submarines that have been abandoned since 1945. Secreted at this forgotten base, there are 4 different kinds of dwarf submarines and a total of roughly 84 boats. A dwarf submarine is technically any submarine under 150 tons with a crew of less than 8 and absolutely no living accommodation on board. Dwarf submarines also operate with their mothership by providing support. There were 7 classes of dwarf submarines built by the Japanese Navy before the end of World War II, with about 800 units being manufactured. Oddly enough, these miniature subs didn't have much impact on the war effort. They were supposed to be deployed at the forefront of enemy fleets to attack harbors and to defend the Japanese coast. But they didn't end up doing a whole lot, and at the end of the war in 1945, the Americans found hundreds sitting at dry docks in Japan and even more still under construction. The Japanese were also working to build more effective dwarf submarines that could do increased damage. The surprising part of this discovery is that the dwarf submarines are still around today. The Kure Naval Base was heavily damaged in October of 1945 and flooded, but nobody's ever bothered to take the submarines away or to even destroy the old base. They can still be found there as we speak, completely useless and slowly rotting away. Number 9. Jewelry in the belly. A collection of stolen jewelry was recently discovered in a rather surprising place. It happened in Florida back in December when a young man named Joseph Bravos Ramos was arrested for reckless driving. After getting arrested, the police found out the car didn't even belong to Joseph. The vehicle was stolen, and so now the kid was being charged with theft. Joseph was taken to jail, at which point he was forced to move through the security X-ray. This turned out to be bad news for Joseph, as he had some stolen goods hidden inside of his stomach. Police noticed a large black mass in his gut, but Joseph acted as though it were completely normal. It wasn't until later that the police found out he had 2 gold chains lumped in his stomach. Apparently, Joseph swallowed the stolen jewelry because he didn't want to get busted with it. But seeing as he was in jail and not going anywhere, it wasn't like he could just keep the gold chains in his guts forever. The police forced this guy into surgery and the stolen property was removed. To add insult to injury, Joseph was also charged with tampering with evidence. Number 8. Too many webs. In Australia, the spiders are taking over. A terrifying and surprising discovery was made in the Gippsland region in Victoria after the place was hit by brutal floods. The floodwaters clogged the soil where spiders live and forced them out of their homes. For the spiders to stay dry and alive, they used their silk to create a stunning roadway of webs nearly 5 feet off the ground and stretching for yard after yard. For local residents, it was not a great thing to see. Nobody wants to walk through spider webs up to their waist that are several feet thick and literally filled with spiders. Here's where things get really horrifying. According to the experts, this act of literally blanketing the countryside in webs is not that abnormal. Spiders are around us constantly, but we don't really see them. They hide inside the soil, in the grass, and right under our feet. So when a great flooding event happens, they need a way to evacuate the grass. This means thousands upon thousands of spiders release strands of web, which then get caught in the wind and connect onto things like trees, bushes, road signs, and even the sides of houses. The spider then uses that strand of web to climb up and away from the flooding. The act of doing this is actually called ballooning, and it's what spider babies do as soon as they hatch from their egg sacs. They fling a web strand away from the rest of the babies as quickly as possible and follow it wherever it goes. But this time in Australia, the really horrible part was that the thousands of spiders were all hanging out in the same spot, and the trees and shrubs were literally untouchable under veils of web. Would this freak you out? Are you afraid of spiders? Let me know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this. Number 7. An ancient mine. Archaeologists have made a surprising discovery in Mexico. Archaeologists with diving equipment found a mine that dates back 11,000 years inside of a flooded Mexican cave system. This shocking discovery has given us a spectacular glimpse into the lives of the ancient people who first lived on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. 11,000 years ago, the cave systems here would not have been filled with water. The true mystery of the Yucatan is that the Maya, and even those ancient people who came long before the Maya, used the cave systems extensively. It wasn't just tourists in bikinis diving into cenotes. There were all kinds of things happening here. And apparently the natives were mining. Archaeologists found the mining site preserved in stunning detail. The ancient people had used tools made of stone to mine red ochre pigment from deep within the earth. The pigments would have been used in cave paintings, rituals, for sunscreen, in dyes for clothing, and so much more. And this isn't the only surprising thing archaeologists have found inside the vast cave systems. They also found the skeleton of a very ancient young girl who lived 13,000 years ago and fell to her death inside another nearby cave. Then there are other caves where divers have also found human remains preserved by the floodwaters for at least 8,000 years. Unfortunately, scientists still debate what people were doing inside the dark underworld of the caves, if they were trying to live there, if they used the caves to bury their dead, or if they simply mined the earthly minerals. Number 6. Space rock. A man in Indonesia named Joshua Hutagalung made such a surprising discovery that he was able to retire from his business of making coffins. He literally became an instant millionaire when a rock from space crashed through his roof. He didn't need a metal detector, a degree from a fancy school. He didn't need a single thing. The space rock literally punched a hole in his roof and landed in his living room. Where did the space rock come from? Well, from space. It was a meteorite the size of a football, and it's been dated back at 4.5 billion years old. This is one of the most significant meteorites ever found, and could contain elements that prove extraterrestrial life, or at least the origin of life on our planet. How did Joshua become a millionaire? Because the space rock was so valuable, he managed to sell it for roughly $1.5 million. That's the equivalent of 30 years of working every single day, and he made it all at once just because his house happened to be where the meteorite decided to fall out of the sky. Number 5. Old human footprints. In Spain, some of the oldest footprints ever discovered were found inside of a mysterious cave. The footprints are at the Sala y Galerías de las Huellas site, at the entrance to the Palomera cave. The footprints were left behind by a group of people 4,500 years ago. What's truly fascinating is that the surprising footprints show the physical remains of human traffic during prehistory. The footprints are nothing more than indentations on the floor of the cave, and yet they speak volumes. First of all, the people who left the prints were not wearing shoes. They were barefoot. Also, the footprints belong to a group of around 10 individuals who explored the tunnels within the cave. In total, archaeologists have isolated 1,200 individual human footprints. While it's true that the majority of the footprints were from the group 4,500 years ago, there are other separated footprints that date back as far as 19,000 years ago. What this suggests is that the cave was a popular destination for early humans through a span of at least 15,000 years. There are almost 100 miles of tunnels here, with evidence of early human habitation. This discovery brings a whole new truth to the term caveman. Number 4. Shipwreck artifacts. Underwater archaeologists have made a surprising discovery off the coast of Sicily. They found artifacts from a shipwreck, but this was not any ordinary wrecked naval vessel. Instead, the artifacts here date back 2,000 years and were used in one of the first epic naval battles ever. Some of the artifacts include helmets, armor, and weapons. The vessel was from the Battle of the Agadi Islands. The battle was fought during the Punic War in 241 between the Romans and the Carthaginians. The battle was the result of over 20 years of fighting while the ambitious Romans tried to secure a foothold and complete dominance over the Mediterranean Sea. Even though Carthage had the advantage when it came to the water, the Romans were a bit more clever. They set up an ambush and sank a huge number of ships from Carthage, about 50 of them, and killing up to 10,000 men. This was the first major victory in the road to Rome's total European domination. Nobody knows the name of the vessel discovered, but archaeologists are certain it was involved in the battle. The artifacts were found 328 feet beneath the surface, scattered around an area of around 3 miles. Archaeologists found a naval ram used for battering boats, Roman helmets, and even iron swords. Number 3. Super armored worms. A creepy and surprising new animal has just been discovered, and it dates back 500 million years. It's a type of worm, but it's not like any worm you've ever seen before. It's a spiky worm covered with armor and jagged points. According to the Archaeology News Network, it could be one of the first animals on the planet that developed armor as a form of protection. This bizarre worm would have lived underwater. It had front legs that looked like feathers, and it ate by filtering nutrients out of the water. It lived during the Cambrian explosion in what is today China. It's been given the name Colonicium ciliosum, or more simply, the Harry Collins monster. But even more surprising than the existence of the worm 500 million years ago is that it's actually related to things that are still alive today. It's a very distant early ancestor of the velvet worm, a squishy animal that lives in tropical forests all around our planet. Velvet worms also have legs, but for some unknown reason, they don't have armor or spikes anymore. The hairy Collins monster also had a squishy body. It had 6 pairs of legs with claws on the ends. It probably lived a meager existence by attaching itself to sea sponges, filtering nutrients out of the water, and hoping its armored spikes would keep other animals from eating it. How many spikes did the creepy worm have? Scientists believe it had 72 pointy spikes that covered most of its body, leaving it very well protected considering its sedentary lifestyle. Number 2. An ancient coin. A soldier was participating in a military exercise on the remote Mount Carmel in Israel when he discovered something strange in the dirt. The soldier saw something shiny and metallic on the ground and picked it up. He would find out later that he had stumbled upon a very ancient and very rare coin with the head of an old Roman emperor on it. The coin dates back to about 159 AD, and the head on the coin is that of Emperor Antonius Pius, who ruled between 138 and 161. On the other side of the coin is the depiction of the Syrian moon god. According to archaeologist Dr. Avner Ecker, who investigated the coin after its discovery, it was minted in the ancient city of Geva Philippi, also known as the City of Horsemen because of the legendary cavalry force once stationed there. The coin was minted at a time when the Roman Empire allowed the city to govern itself under Roman thumb and to produce their own currency. Nobody's really sure how the coin made it onto the mountain or why nobody spotted it for 2,000 years, but it was definitely a pretty rewarding and surprising discovery for the soldier. He didn't get any money for it, but he was still happy. Number 1. Electric eel pack animals. In a shocking new discovery, no pun intended, scientists have discovered that electric eels may be very similar to wolves. On the face of it, electric eels and wolves don't really seem like animals that would have anything in common. I don't need to explain the differences to you. But scientists studying a new species of eel in South America with the devastating power to deliver 860 volts of electricity, enough to kill a fully grown person, have found these animals actually hunt in packs. Unlike most fish, electric eels are part of a strange social system that allows them to hunt together for better results. Douglas Bastos, a biologist working with the National Institute of Amazonian Research, said he was shocked by the discovery. Again, no pun intended. He first saw a group of electric eels attack together back in 2012, singling out fish and then attacking in an organized fashion. Even stranger is that the eels are almost always alone at the bottom of the river. It's only at dawn and dusk that they get together in packs to hunt down and kill any easy prey they find. Scientists aren't sure how electric eels developed such a social system, but some believe it could have something to do with their power over electricity. It could be that the eels use their electric discharge not only to navigate through the water, but also to communicate with one another in a way that we can't even imagine. Which of these discoveries was your favorite? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit subscribe and come back again for another awesome video right here on American Eye.